Golic and Smetty here.
Have you ever thought about what it would be like to start a podcast with your dad?
Welcome to another edition of Golic and Smetty. I am Mike Golic Sr., and I really emphasize the senior today. She is Jess Smetana. And why I emphasize the senior is because the junior is here, Mike Golic Jr., or Gojo, as he's better known.
Why did you put that in air quotes?
Gojo, because I have a bone to pick with him that I'll get to.
Ooh.
Okay? First thing, though, I hate computers. I hate them. I hate them. I mean, I swear to you, I'm doing things how I'm supposed to be doing, and A, I can't either get on a site, or B, I can't start recording. Why does shit not work for me? Why? Hello, all. How you doing?
It doesn't work for you the same reason that I struggle to commit the time and energy to learning editing software for TikTok. It's because it's new and it's scary and you're old. That's what it comes down to. Like
but
for
wait a
you,
minute.
it's basic computer technology, and for me, it's the next advent of social media platform.
So here's what I don't understand, though. And Jess, might one of you tell me what I'm doing wrong. So pull the curtain back. We do this, and we're supposed to record each thing separately. So they, for whatever reason. So
what? Is that true? I don't even think you're starting off with an accurate representation of what's happening here.
I'm told to record mine all the time. Are you not?
I don't do a separate recording. Okay, let's peel back the curtain further. What's happening is that there's a link that gets sent out every week. It's the same link, and it puts us on this video hosting platform. And to get on the video hosting platform, you click the link. And for some reason, every time Mike clicks the link, he gets a security feature that doesn't let him go onto the video site. And we've tried to work around that, but every week the same problem comes up. And so we've tried to figure out workarounds, like copy and paste the link into your notes app. Maybe, then you can do it and then you copy paste it in the URL bar. But for some reason, every week there's some fiasco and it takes several minutes to get online. Is that okay? Is that accurate?
That's okay. Our producer sends us a link every week. I click on said link and can't get on.
Right. But I can. That's the weird part.
And I was sent the link today for the first time by Drew on this new platform, and I was able to get on. So again,
right. And Ryan Nanny also 2 weeks ago was on. So it seems to be that you're the one that has the problem, Mike.
Okay, so then let's go to the next thing. I tape separately to send to Drew to do what he needs to do with it. I go to QuickTime, okay? I hit QuickTime. I go to File, New Audio Recording. I hit that. The little bar shows up where I can start it. I hit it, and it just shows zeros. So I have to delete it out and do it again, and it just shows zeros when I hit start. The fourth time when I hit start, it starts to record. Why does it take 4 times for it to start to record? Somebody answer me that.
So I'm just going to say all of these problems goes back to that old saying of if everywhere you go smells like shit, it might be you.
I've never heard that before.
Tell me what I'm doing wrong with QuickTime. I just told you what I do.
I don't know what you're doing wrong. So this is what we're going to do.
Anything wrong.
This is how we're going to fix it. Gojo's coming out to Phoenix for the Super Bowl next weekend. He's going to sit down in your computer room, and he's going to fix both the link and your QuickTime. Is that all right, Gojo? You're volunteering yourself to do this, right?
Yeah, again, I am going to go and be the IT department. This is going to be my payment for room and board for that week since I don't need a hotel room because I'm going to stay with you guys. What I'm going to tell you also, Dad, is that everything isn't something. Like, sometimes stuff just doesn't work. Sometimes gremlins in the computer go and they make a certain program not run at a certain time. And there's no real explanation why. At least not one that me, a fucking film and television major from Notre Dame, is going to be able to properly ascertain. So I just want you to accept and understand that there are going to be things that you'll never really fully understand about this magical box that records your podcast every week. That's just reality.
It's just so frustrating. And listen, I admit I don't try and learn a lot because I have youngsters like you guys that help me out. But when I do something simple, simple, and it doesn't work until the fourth time. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
So you just said you have displayed no earthly interest in learning, and yet you are surprised when things go wrong and you don't know how to fix them.
But tell me what I need to learn. I hit the QuickTime icon. I hit the start new audio. I hit the start button. There is nothing more to do than that. And it doesn't start until I delete. Try it again. It doesn't start. I delete. Try it again. It doesn't start. I delete. Try it again. And it starts. I do nothing different. So that's what I don't understand.
All right. I think what we need to do, old man, is send you back to school to learn coding. I'm on the Arizona State website right now.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a degree in computer sciences that would be perfect for you.
Yeah, I look like someone that wants to go back to school and learn this shit, don't I?
Do you have any eligibility left? Maybe we can get you a scholarship, too.
Oh, man, if I could go some NIL, how great would that be?
Listen, again, Kenny Dillingham is a great guy. Got to know him a little bit when he was at Oregon.
You could
Drew
be on
Pine's
on the
there.
team with Drew Pine. Protect the blind side. Let's make you play O-line.
Oh, God.
That'd be incredible.
I go to O-line, D-line to O-line, that'd be pretty easy. I mean, right?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
We know D-line's harder.
That's exactly
But also, you have dad strength now, and everyone knows that dad strength is the most powerful force in the universe.
I think what I have more than anything else at times, and Mike knows this because my patience is short, I have dad frustration. I really do. Yeah.
I have never noticed anything like that from you.
Yeah, I think at this point, too, in the dad strength life cycle, I feel like once you have a grandkid, that's when you crest over the top. Like, you're closer to needing that stairway seat that motorizes you up and down the stairs than you are to being able to forklift a truck off of your, dying baby.
Well, that's true, too. Yeah, I agree with that. But, man, that's putting me in a bad spot right there. That's
I don't know. I saw some guy at the gym the other day use the motorized lift down to the weight floor, and I was pretty jealous. I had to walk down the stairs like a slap.
I just don't think I could do that. Maybe after I get my knee replacement, I'll have to use that or something like that. Wow.
Dear God. So this is what Jess and I have to look forward to in Scottsdale for Super Bowl week?
So I was going to say, you guys get frustrated with me? Jess, are you frustrated with me?
No, I mean, it's mostly amusing because it's like, I've said this to you before. I have to deal with these issues with my parents all the time. I'll get a rogue text from my mom asking me, how do I send a text message? And I'll reply, you just did. And it's just, it's more frustrating when it's your own parents. But when it's you, Mike, I think it's generally amusing. Although I do feel for you because there's really not much I can do to help you troubleshoot from Miami.
This is going to be Jess and Dad at Radio Row during Super Bowl week.
That's mean.
That is not nice.
Don't age shame your father, Gojo. Only I can do that. I'm his co-host.
That's all he does. But you're number one as far as my broadcasting family, Jess. You know that.
Welcome.
So we'll get to the football and what's going on. But this is kind of about football. I thought it interesting. Now I call games for Westwood One, usually the Sunday night games, but I called the Sunday night game, Dallas at San Francisco. You know, hell of a defensive game. Couple people, by the way, as an offshoot, text me and go, "What an awful game!" And I said, "We are so just so, whatever, brainwashed to high-scoring offensive games." That was
I agree with you. I thought it was a good game.
I thought it was fantastic.
Can I say there's also a difference, right? Like the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl, objectively bad football
Bad game. Yep.
Right.
This game between the Niners that you had, objectively good football game. There was just enough. It was hard-hitting, downhill, inside the box. This was like late 90s, early 2000s football game that we got.
Yeah.
Low scoring doesn't mean bad, just the way
No.
high scoring doesn't always mean good. Some high scoring games, you're like, all right, we get it. Like, can someone make a tackle, please? Like, I enjoy the final score and the points and the yard totals and everything looks fun afterwards, but it doesn't always mean it's a good game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm completely with you. That's why I was stunned at some of these texts that went on. But so then I'm looking at Twitter after the game and such, and I see a tweet from Mike that talks about Greg Olsen in the booth. And Greg Olsen and Kevin Burkhardt, who were in the booth there, Aaron Andrews on the sideline. I saw them, talked to them, very nice, known them for a little while. And Greg does a fantastic job as an analyst. I'm happy he was given the opportunity on the number one team without question. He does a great job because a lot of times those go to instant Hall of Fame quarterbacks, that and get handed jobs.
Like Tom Brady, who's going to push him out the minute he
It's
retires.
exactly right. But I'm glad Greg has been on the big stage and doing what he's doing because he does a great job. And Mike said that, in his tweet. Greg Olsen, great job, blah, blah, blah. And he was right. And I told that to Greg in person. Now, I happen to be calling the exact same game on the national radio on Westwood One, of which you don't have to just be in your car to listen. Like when Mike is doing the radio games for Learfield, the Saturday night game of the week for Learfield, what I do is I sit in front of the TV and I get the Learfield app and I listen to Mike on the radio and I sync it up with the TV. So I can watch the game on TV and sync up Mike calling the game. That's what I do. So Mike obviously says a great job by Greg Olsen, and I just tweeted like, hey, thanks for listening. I mean, my own father won't even listen to, my own son won't even listen to his own father call a game. I don't know what else to say, Mike. I was hurt.
I think actually you just found the one technology that I wouldn't be putting on a radio and syncing it with my TV. That is something I have not done in over a decade. Mike.
So Jess, does your TV have the thing where you can stop it, pause it kind of deal?
No,
it doesn't.
I'm a cord cutter. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe you
I've
can't
never
do
had
it. Then.
cable.
See,
Yeah,
so mine can, and I would just stop the TV until the radio caught up, and then you start it again, and then it's synced up.
Damn. Check your privilege.
I have listened to you on the radio, though, which I told you.
As have I. And I've even gone out in person to games and stayed in the booth to listen to you guys call the game in the booth. And you know this, creature of habit, right? Come home normally during the season. I'm on Saturday. I'm on the road Saturday. I'm calling the games for Learfield. And then I get back Sunday and I'm around and I'm in my rhythm. And so then, pop on the radio in the NFL app. Check it out there because I don't have Sirius in my car because I am a cord cutter of audio. And so I just listen to shit on my phone when I'm driving around in the car. And then go do that. We're in the playoffs now, totally out of my rhythms. I was hungover on Sunday. I was playing hurt, not injured, but I was playing hurt, and so I was all out of my rhythm, so I just kind of turned on the TV flippantly, and I turned it on there, and I listened to Greg Olsen for a bit. And you know what? I shot Greg Olsen a little bit of help because he's new in this, and he's just getting his career going, and I want people to see how well he's doing. Dad, you've already achieved these great heights. You've had so many great things happen for you.
Yeah,
it's honestly kind of selfish. Yeah, two-time Hall of Famer in radio. It's a little bit selfish that you would want to take all of this shine when Greg is really just trying to find his footing in this industry. He's a new guy, and it's our job as people that have been around this a lot longer to make sure that he gets his place in this and can find a way before he's shoved to the second crew by Tom Brady. How dare you?
It's very selfish.
One thing I believe, and I'm proud of you in this moment, because one thing I believe you have learned from me, and you just presented it very well, is complete and utter bullshit. I mean, that was a wonderful job of just bullshitting right there.
I thought you were going to say, selflessness building people up, but classic baby boomer response. Your generation, they're just so me about everything. But, Mike, I do want to ask you a question, which is, how did you call the final play of the Cowboys game? Because that was, I think, the highlight of my entire weekend, maybe of the season. It was hilarious.
For that play, they actually lined up in it, and then San Francisco called a timeout. So we actually had time to talk about it. The first thing I said, this looks like a flag football lineup, right? With just the center and just someone snapping the ball and everybody else going out for a pass. And there may be people that are saying, well, if you're going to do that, why would you have offensive linemen out there? Well, you need certain numbers out there, so they have to be out there, blah,
Rules,
blah, blah.
Yada, yada.
So they find this, and Ryan Radke just did a great job of explaining two offensive linemen to the left, a wide receiver on either side. Two offensive linemen to the right, a wide receiver on either side. The old lineman going to help with the blocking while the wide receivers are pitching the ball. And I kept wondering, I was saying, is Zeke going to be able to snap the ball? They've obviously practiced this play, so they feel Zeke can snap the ball. But now I'm saying out there and just supposing, because I've never seen this, What do I do if I'm on defense? Do I send one guy over Zeke like they did? Do I send multiple guys and make Dak throw it right away, which he'd be able to, and then my guys are chasing? Well, of course, San Francisco just sent the one player who just smoked Zeke, who became an instant meme. As soon as his ass didn't hit the ground, and I was thinking to myself, damn, that's not going to look good on Twitter, because that's exactly where it's going to live. And then to have that pass, at least you get to play around. I don't know what you guys called it, Mike, with your offenses when you work on a play like that never works. But this one, Zeke gets his ass kicked, Dak gets rid of the ball, and the receiver gets smoked right when he catches it. If they don't just tear that sheet out of the playbook, never line up in it again, never even think about using it again. But for the Cowboys, it almost seems like that's the way their season should end, because they find a way. They just find a way, and that was just horrific. Mike, I'd like to know on end plays like that how those are designed and talked about.
I have never seen that designed as an end play, because what that was you hear it called the swinging gate, or we used to in high school call it the lonesome polecat on field goal attempts or point after attempts, where the offense would line up and you'd have the battery in the middle, so the snapper, kicker, holder in the middle, and then you'd have two different groups of players on either side. And when you're down on the 2-yard line or whatever, gives you an option if the defense is misaligned and you've got a numbers advantage somewhere, guy snaps it in the middle, throws it to where the numbers advantage is, and you've kind of got that play worked out. And if not, you see them bring guys in for the field goal try. They essentially tried to run that at midfield, and the one thing that I don't get is, now, you mentioned there were 2 offensive linemen on each side. Was there not one side that had a third offensive lineman?
No, that was the interesting thing. There were only 4 O-linemen out there.
So that doesn't make sense, because your whole point is to buy beef out on the perimeter. And
right.
You heard before the play, Zeke Elliott was ineligible. So having a lighter body out there to snap the football made no difference. There was no strategic advantage to having Ezekiel Elliott right there, other than to have him apparently learn how hard it is to snap the ball and then get your offhand on the defender who's right over your face. That's all I can think of, is that despite the fact that Zeke Elliott has accepted his role quietly on this team as the second back to Tony Pollard, they wanted him to go out there and learn some hard truth in front of the masses. That seemed malicious by Kellen Moore and the Cowboys staff.
Do you remember the Indianapolis Colts New England Patriots trick play from, it had to have been like 8 years ago now, where
the fake punt.
They tried a fake punt on like 4th and 3, and the center and it just got smoked right after the play, and they didn't get a pass off or a run off. That was what this reminded me of. It was, you're trying to catch the defense misaligned, like you said, but the execution is so horrible and goofy that the theoretical opportunity of getting the ball downfield quickly is completely wiped out by the mismatch right when you snap the ball.
I appreciated the 49ers just going with the solve your problems with aggression formula. Hey, we probably haven't practiced this as an end game scenario, so I'm just going to smack the shit out of Zeke and see what happens. And wouldn't you know it, good things happen.
That was one of the most incredible plays of stupidity I've seen. But going back, again, this game early on, the Dallas defense was playing incredibly well. Incredibly. Brock Purdy, and I know you tweeted this, Mike, and I had mentioned it on air, this was the game he looked most like a rookie early on. And then after that, he looked pretty good. See what I did there?
Oh, God.
I remember when you made that joke in the broadcast. It was really funny.
No, Mom told you I said it. You didn't hear it, so don't even try. Okay?
She didn't tell me shit.
Don't even try. So this was a game that the Dallas defense was playing well, and I just wonder in the last quarter and a half if they got worn down a little bit, because they lost a D lineman, so they lose some rotation, and San Francisco started leaning on them on the run. But the one thing, you try and play a clean game, and you worry about mistakes, and we saw Dak throw a couple of interceptions. The first one, I have no idea where the hell he was throwing it. The second one, I mean, how he doesn't see Jimmy Ward there, who tipped it up to Warner for the interception, I have no idea. But coming to the end of the game, when they needed to get at least close for the Hail Mary, Dalton Schultz, the tight end, the 2 mistakes, and I mean, you want to talk about the difference of knowing the situation and not knowing the situation. So Dalton first catches that out route and gets hit, knocked backwards out of bounds. And you see the ref immediately keeps saying the clock is running, and Dalton thinks the clock is going to stop, and immediately the 49er who knocked him out of bounds backwards points to the ref and is like, yes, roll the clock. He knew exactly if he knocked him backwards, the clock keeps going. It seemed that Schultz was the only one who didn't know, and then he catches another out route, which would have made it about a 60-yard pass for Dak Prescott, and he lazily is on the sidelines and doesn't drag the toe of his second leg. I mean, we just all assumed it was a catch until we were like, oh my God, how does he not get that second foot in? So there was some, and again, the blame game goes out to Kellen Moore and this and that. And I've always said, games come down to players executing on the field. And there was a couple of chances there that it was nobody's fault but Dalton Schultz, the player, who made the mistakes there.
Well, you can also point the finger at Elijah Mitchell for stepping out of bounds the drive before for the 49ers. They could have run the clock out if he had just fallen in bounds. But I want, as a player, does anyone ever refresh you on, hey, you have to go forwards out of bounds? Or is that something you just like, it's assumed that you know the rule there?
Yeah, and the NFL, and I've never been a receiving player, so I'm not sure, but to comparable points at other positions, especially before critical drives, like before you go out in 2 minute, as an O-line, you're reminding everyone, hey, like when the snap's done, like get the ball, if you're near the ball, get the ball back to the official so he can spot it. Get up to the line of scrimmage, coming off the sideline in those situations, usually like after a timeout or a stoppage, you go in and you've got the first 2 plays called. So as soon as that first play happens, you're up to the line with the next one, and there doesn't even need to be communication. You can get 2 off. So you communicate a bunch of the, O-line, hey, we're watching games. We know what they like to do in 2 minutes. You're all kind of reminding each other what your positional coaching points are. So I'd imagine maybe amongst receivers, you assume that's known, but I mean, the whole point is you don't assume anything. You guys over communicate shit all the time, and it's like, hey, get forward. I don't know for them, but I know for our position group and other position groups, you're kind of hitting the checklist before a lot of those situations.
And that's a great question, Jess, because Mike's right. For a D line, it would be a different set of checklist than the secondary. Same for receivers and O-line. You wonder, though, is it more than make sure you get out of bounds? I mean, because there's probably some natural assumption that you're supposed to know that you can't get knocked backward out of bounds. But to Mike's point, usually it's an over communication of, hey, get out of bounds. But remember, you have to be going either lateral or forward to get out of bounds. I don't think you have to be reminded to get 2 fucking feet in bounds. I mean,
I mean, I also think that, like, why would you ever go backwards out of bounds in the first place?
Well, sometimes he got knocked backwards, and that's on the receiver.
Fair.
He's
Yes,
got to find a way to get forward.
Put your shoulder down and go forward.
Yes, and that's a big-time check for the defender, being able to knock him backwards and keep it going.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was pretty impressive. So for you guys, all the talk has been, where does Dak belong in the quarterback hierarchy now of the NFL? So he gets hurt. I did the first game of the season when he got hurt, misses 5 games, comes back, throws the most touchdowns in the NFL, but has the most interceptions in the NFL. So, Mike, I'll start with you. Where is Dak Prescott in the pantheon of quarterbacks in the league right now?
I mean, depending on if you go like Mahomes as his own little group up top, or if you just say like Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, like a bunch of like the freak quarterbacks in tier 1, Dak's a tier 2 guy. Like on his best day, he's a top 10 quarterback. And the thing with Dak is, and the reason that a lot of this conversation feels weird to me, is he's not a quarterback on his rookie contract. He's not a new guy. We've got a big, large sample size of Dak Prescott being really good for this team at times, and then in moments like this year, undermining them with bad turnovers in a bunch of critical spots like this game. So I think he's firmly a tier 2 guy. Like, the conversation has come up, and I think it's pretty easy. You can win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott as your quarterback. We've seen way shittier quarterbacks than this guy hoist the Lombardi trophy. It's just you need to have all those other details like you talked about and a full roster around him in a year where we're seeing, in the NFC especially, the 2 best rosters, the overall rosters, are the ones that are representing the conference in the championship game. Like, it's not asking something different of them than we're asking of damn near everyone else right now.
Unsurprisingly, I agree. He also was missing one of his best weapons on offense that I think would have made the game plan a lot easier for him. But I think tier 2, but like still firmly top 10 is a good place for him. I don't know. I mean, he did make mistakes. The Cowboys social media account was negging him for it.
Wow.
Which was painful to see. But he's a good quarterback.
We talked to David Hellman about that, who used to work for Cowboys.com, works for Speak on FS1 now, and he said the Cowboys media arm is different, the in-house media team, than most places. It's a little more separate from the team, and so you've got a little bit more latitude there to actually get to write critical pieces and to actually get to do the things like that. And he told us the story about how at one point they got accused, or people, fans of theirs, were accusing them of tampering when they wrote that the Cowboys needed to go out and sign Adrian Peterson years ago. So people like to freak out and act like they're controlled by the state there, but really they actually have a little bit more freedom than most, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
So they head off into the offseason, 49ers, and we have time to talk about that. But for the Cowboys, they're done. Where are they going to go next year? Maybe get a better number 2 wide receiver. I love how people are saying, oh, yeah, they had to make a number 2 and number 1 receiver. That had to be done. CeeDee Lamb had over 100 receptions and about 1,400 yards. He played into the number 1 receivership just fine. So,
I drafted him to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, Amari Cooper was that guy, and they traded him away. They could have had both those guys, but they didn't want to deal with the money situation that Jerry Jones has gotten them into. So they're into the offseason. I definitely want to cover the other games in the time we have. Not much to talk about in the Philly-Giants game, other than for the Giants, you still put thumbs up for their season, right?
Definitely,
It was an excellent season for them. And Daniel Jones is going to make between $30 and $35 million. Somebody tell me I'm wrong.
No, I mean, either on the franchise tag or on what I'd imagine is a shorter deal. Like most of the stuff I've seen is in that range price-wise and probably around a 3-year deal, which if you're the team gives you time to make sure hey, all right, what we've seen in 1 year with coach and this quarterback can be replicable over time as we add weapons for him. And then for Daniel Jones on the other side, it's hey, if this keeps up in the offense that I'm working in right now, which we've seen, removing Dable from Buffalo and adding Dable to this situation, there's a massive value in what he brings, then I'm young, I'm up for a new deal sooner, and I can get paid my kind of truckload amount of money then, because for the rest of his time in New York, he was inconsistent enough to where they didn't want to pick up the option.
What do you think, Jess?
I agree. This isn't interesting because we listen to the same shows. I listen to your show, Gojo, and I think I see eye to eye to you on everything. Should I disagree to be an asshole?
No.
How do you pay a guy who loses? You have to make changes if you're the Giants. I'll sound like I'm doing WFAN radio.
Yeah, don't do
Jess,
that.
Jess, what do you do with Saquon though? Because I did hear Joe Shane, their GM, come out and kind of sound like he was a little less determined to get Saquon back into that building.
Well, do you think he would sign a franchise tag?
I don't know if you're a running back if you have much of a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the running back position's a tough position now.
Le'Veon Bell tried to do it, and it didn't really work out that well.
That didn't set a precedent well for running backs at all. But listen.
Although he did whoops. Whose ass did he whoop boxing the other day? If nothing else. I mean, if nothing else, Saquon could probably follow in that category if shit didn't work out football-wise. That man is a tank.
I forgot who he beat. It wasn't Adrian Peterson, was it? I can't remember.
I have no idea. This is not something that I follow.
Yeah, it was something. But listen, arrows up on them. No need to talk much about that one. Philly just rolled them. I think the NFC wins the Super Bowl, whether it's Philly or San Francisco. I think they're the most complete teams in the NFL. Yeah, we'll get to picks in a minute. I want to touch on the AFC side. We'll keep Mahomes for last because of the injury. Jess, let me ask you. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Got to believe they're the top 2 quarterbacks in the league now. Is Josh Allen in that category, or is he below that?
I mean, you can't base it all off of the last game,
No,
right?
you can't. You're right.
Because he had a great season overall, although I think there were games where he made mistakes. And I think there were games where just the Bills' offense didn't look really flashy at all. I don't know how to explain the Bengals-Bills game this weekend other than the Bills just had no juice. They had no run game. They had no flashes on offense. And I don't think it's all Josh Allen's fault because I think he's made those mistakes that people associate with him from especially his rookie year when he got into the league. But I still think he's up there with Burrow and Mahomes. I still think he's a really good like Mike said, I think he's still a tier A quarterback or tier 1, whichever you want to label it. But I think they definitely need to evaluate what went wrong in that game, where it's your, biggest game of the season up to that point, and you can't produce anything on offense. You're supposed to have this incredible, high-powered, high-scoring offense in that game, and even in the Dolphins game, there was just not a lot going on there. So how do you fix that?
So Mike, let me ask you though, when do you start separating? They do this in baseball all the time with postseason. If you're successful in postseason, you get ratcheted up a notch of what your value is. So Joe Burrow, basically the last 4 times he's played Buffalo and Kansas City, he's 4-0, in the playoffs. So he's getting it done in the playoffs. Josh Allen is not getting it done at this point in the playoffs. And I don't want to say team-wise, but I'm talking quarterback-wise. So when does that start hurting him enough to drop him down a notch from Mahomes and Burrow?
Well, I think it already has in some people's immediate reaction to this. At the same time, we go back to last year in the postseason. That Chiefs-Bills game is one of the best games we've seen in the last 5 years, and Josh was a god in that game. Josh was so good in that game, and we got such a lightning rod thing that Tony Romo's been able to coast off that big game Gabe Davis shit for God knows how long since then and convinced us that he's the answer at number 2 for that team. So it's already affecting, and we're watching the thing happen now with Burrow where people are trying to jump him over Mahomes because of what's going on now. And while I don't agree with that, just because Mahomes has so many more physical gifts than Joe does, like Joe has overcome all those. He's got the moxie. He's a really good quarterback at understanding what's around him and how he's got to adjust his game, being down 3 starters in the O-line this last week and last season, both good examples of it. But it is interesting for Joe because he's in this first rookie contract, and a lot like Mahomes, you're going to see the potential for him to go Super Bowl appearance and Super Bowl win in back-to-back years while still on that rookie contract. Like, if he manages to pull that off and they were to win the Super Bowl this year, his early trajectory and Mahomes' early trajectory, despite I think the difference in physical ability, would be identical in when it comes to what they've done in the postseason. And to your point, early on, that's how we build mythology. It's why now I even struggle in my peanut brain to pick against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in this matchup where the Bengals are better at most meaningful things because Patrick Mahomes for so long was so money in every spot they needed when we're all watching the same 1 or 2 games on a postseason weekend.
Yeah, and I think just like how you can't necessarily judge Josh Allen on this postseason, like Joe Burrow's super wild card weekend performance against the Ravens, and granted they have a really good defense, it wasn't his best postseason game either. So I think like the single game evaluation thing that we tend to do when we react to these games is not always the best indication of someone's talent level, and you have to look over the course of the season. Over the course of the season, the Bengals have gotten better week to week because their O-line's played better. Joe Burrow has adjusted, like Gojo just said, with all the various injuries they've had to deal with. And I think I still place him in that top tier because I still think he's an elite, really good quarterback. But you can't knock Josh Allen just like you can't knock Joe Burrow from his variance week to week in this postseason.
Yeah, I called that Baltimore game. Baltimore had 4 sacks in that game, and they were pressuring the hell out of him. It's very true.
Yeah, I think a lot of this analysis we sort of make opponent agnostic where we forget on the other side, like the Bills since Von Miller went down had been a bottom-tier quarterback pressure team in the NFL. And so even I overlooked that. I'm like, man, being down 3 starters on the O-line has to matter. It's like it's a snow game, and this team's already not good at pressuring people, so that's advantage offense in the way that they want to go about that. It's what makes the Kansas City matchup really interesting because Chris Jones, Frank Clark sometimes on the other side, and just overall Spag's style of saying, I'm going to send bodies and try and flush the pipes on this. We've seen it bite them in the ass against Joe Burrow and these receivers, but it's a different challenge for the backups on the O-line than what they got out of Buffalo, who's just, going to put guys up sometimes, but more often than not just rush 4.
So then look at the Kansas City side of this. How much do we think just the Mahomes injury, a high ankle sprain, and he came back and played in the second half, and that for those, there are degrees of sprains. A sprain is basically a bit of a tear, just a matter of how much. It's grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. This obviously is not a hugely severe high ankle sprain because, anybody that knows going through time here, high ankle sprains are worse than low ankle sprains, and a severe high ankle sprain is going to leave you out for 3 to 5 to 6 weeks, depending on how bad it is. So him coming back in the second half tells me it certainly wasn't that, but he did come back, and there's no way he's 100% for the Cincinnati game. So, Jess, how much effect do you think has overall in the game for this?
Well, Chad Henne won the game this weekend, right? Do they even need Patrick Mahomes when you have Chad Henne playing lights out?
Henne's possible.
Touchdown drive. I don't know, Mike. I really hope he plays. That was like about as sad as a thing that could have happened to any of the starters in that game. Watching his ankle turn sideways like that. It's Patrick Mahomes. Like, you want to see him be able to start the game against the Bengals this weekend, because the narrative just it's not as fun when it's like Chad Henne versus Joe Burrow. You want to see that rematch. The Bengals have won those last 3 matchups, like you said. I really hope he's at least good enough to play. He's not going to be the same. He's not going to be as mobile, certainly, which was what was keeping them, pretty effective versus the Jaguars defense on Saturday. But I really hope he can play, and he's still, got the arm strength to do it.
I think he's going to play. I mean, I think he's going to give it every effort. I know going back in the second half certainly hurt the ankle a little more, and
he could barely put weight on it. Half.
And everybody's saying, did he get a pain injection at halftime? And I don't think he did. I think what he got was probably what we used to get all the time, was called Toradol, either that or a cortisonal type of a steroid that reduces swelling to try and keep the swelling out of the area. And so I don't know, that's going to be the whole week is just going to be keeping swelling out of that. Eventually he's got to walk and run on it. From an O-line standpoint, Mike, I don't know how much this affects the O-line used to a guy running around if you can't run around as much.
Well, yeah, I mean, it changes what you can do up front, right? There were things that you could get away for saying, all right, well, if I just kind of guide my guy this way, Pat's going to be able to move up and out. How many times have we seen him leak out to the right side and make some crazy play? Like, at a certain point, and I know the Packers used to do this, they used to coach guys to kind of actually let guys come upfield, and normally you're taught never let a guy to your inside as an offensive lineman. Fastest path to the quarterback. Those guys would let him get up and under to the right side so that Aaron could roll out to the outside because he was comfortable there, because it bought him extra time. He's got free vision in front of him, all that stuff. So I think it does change some of that. I think, honestly, a lot of it's going to look like when Chad Henne went in the game. Like, Chad Henne's not going to burn anyone up. So we saw an uptick in motion. We saw the ball getting out of his hands faster. We saw, we won't see as much of the sprint out stuff, I'd imagine, because Mahomes doing hopscotch when he was trying to hand the ball off from under center was sad and a little bit funny to watch just because it's in an NFL football game. But, yeah, it's going to be different, and it sucks because it's a huge advantage because Lou Anarumo on the other side for the Bengals doesn't need a sitting duck back there. That dude's money.
Yeah, he is incredible. I mean,
Big
why
Lou.
he's not getting more head coaching interviews is I think has a lot of people scratching their head. All right, in the bit of time we have left, let's do some picks. I'll start, then Jess, and then Mike, you go last. So let's start in the AFC. Cincinnati goes to Kansas City. Overall, I like Cincinnati in this game. I think the magic of Mahomes is his ability to escape and do funky things, and I think that's going to be very difficult for him to do. Now, Cincinnati is not a sack-happy team. In the regular season, I think they had 33, which I think ranked 17th or 18th. It was just starting the lower half. But Hendrickson can put good pressure on the quarterback at times. But that's the one thing that could hurt them unless they blitz to get pressure, is how much pressure they're going to get on Mahomes. What they're doing, what Cincinnati's doing on offense with really 3 backups with Cap out and Jonah Williams out and Lel Collins out. We'll see where they all are this week. I know Collins is certainly going to be gone, but the 3 backups, they went with a quicker passing game, get the ball out, get it to the studs, let them do their thing with it. I just think Cincinnati's doing what they did last year, hitting it right at the right time. Now, I know they won the last 8 of the regular season, so they were hitting it right earlier. But I like the way they're playing right now, and with Patrick a little immobile, I'm going to go, Jess, with Cincinnati in this one.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs defense steps up to the plate, fills the void left by Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs offense still has Travis Kelce, one of the best players this season, or really ever at tight end. So I think the Chiefs do it. Andy Reid has some tricks up his sleeve. They're not going to lose to the Bengals again.
I'm excited to use your guys' podcast to hedge because I don't have to make picks on mine till Friday, so I reserve the right to change them as I make them now. That being said, my gut reaction coming off the weekend was Bengals. I just think they have more answers right now than the Chiefs do. Especially if, Lou Anarumo, smart coordinator, going to take away the middle of the field. The Chiefs offense in this Mahomes-Kelsey era, if you have disrupted Kelsey at the line of scrimmage, tends to make a lot of the process more complicated. I won't put it past Andy Reid to have better answers, but I think with the receivers the Bengals have and the job that Joe Burrow's done orchestrating that on offense, I think they're ready for this one. Bengals fans have reminded me over and over again, when Mahomes was healthy, we were still able to beat him, so I'll give them the advantage now too.
All right. So then the NFC game has San Francisco going to Philadelphia, and I think in this one I am going to lean toward Philadelphia in this one. Even though San Francisco has statistically the best defense by points given up in total, Bosa had 18.5 sacks, leads the team, but the next closest is 5 in sacks. So they're not really spreading it out. They got no sacks against Dallas. Kudos to the Dallas offensive line. And for Philadelphia, 70 sacks in the regular season, 4 players over 10 sacks. They are just doing a phenomenal job of getting pressure on the quarterback from the front 4 and the front 7. And offensively, I think they have the weapons in Smith and Goddard and obviously Jalen Hurts running the ball and what A.J. Brown has meant to that team. I think these are the 2 most complete teams in the NFL. I think this game, and we keep waiting for it, when does Brock Purdy look like a rookie and make rookie mistakes? Now, at times he's looked like a rookie, but hasn't made a lot of rookie mistakes. But if it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen in this game because his Philly defense is very, very strong. So I'm going to go Philly wins this one and Cincinnati-Philly in the Super Bowl.
I'm going to pick just the opposite of you for content's sake and go, it's hard to pick against the Eagles, but I'm going to go with the 49ers. Again, with I think a outstanding defensive performance and one of the best tight ends in football. They were able to beat the Cowboys without too much from Deebo Samuel. I think he'll have a big game. I'm going to go 49ers Chiefs rematch in the Super Bowl.
Damn.
Wow.
Oh man, this could, by the way,
I'll probably be completely wrong, by the way, because I usually like the opposite of what I pick happens, but
the Stugatz is strong in you.
There you go.
He went 0-6 this weekend, by the way.
Incredible.
There's a stunner.
Fading Stugatz.
Last weekend, I should say. Yeah.
He started off the
Stugatz.
postseason like 0-8. It was an incredible tour de force of the Stugatzian nature of picks.
He is my mentor, so.
That is true. We're both proud Fraudcasting alums. I do love the idea, by the way, of the 49ers making it back to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, losing in similar agonizing fashion, and then that being the Joker origin story for Kyle Shanahan and company to go out and sign Tom Brady this offseason.
Oh my God. And then a pandemic starts 2 months later again.
Yeah, how about it? Jeez.
I mean, the doomsday clock is at like 90 seconds to midnight or whatever, so we're all going to die soon anyway. Life is short. Eat at Arby's.
Yeah, we'll know it's coming when Golic figures out how to turn on his video.
Shut up, Jess.
On the first try. But go on, Gojo. I feel like you're going to pick the Eagles too.
I am going to pick the Eagles. The best strength-on-strength matchup this weekend is the front 7 for the 49ers against the Eagles O-line. Dad pointed it out. Cowboys did a good job shutting them down last week, by and large, through that game, and the Eagles have the best offensive line in the NFL. Lane Johnson looking healthy last week was, to me, as important as Jalen Hurts looking healthy. The middle of the field matchup's going to be awesome. Fred Warner and company there against where A.J. Brown has had a ton of success helping out this Philly offense, but I think the Eagles get it done. I think it's Birds, and I think it's Bengals in the Super Bowl, and I think Philly's probably going to win this, which is going to make all that Cowboys talk even harder.
Yeah, I'm going NFC either way if San Francisco wins, and I'm picking them in the Super Bowl as well. Mike, you're right. You get to change your picks since you do a pod every day, and Jess and I have to live on our picks. So next week we'll break down this game, break down the championship games, and also I want to look forward to. I hope we find out more info of what's going to happen at the Pro Bowl. It's just like the Pro Bowl games now, right? We know it's a flag football game, but what other stuff they're going to do there instead of having to hit each other anymore? I think that's going to be somewhat interesting. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Pro Bowl laser tag would be sick.
That would be very
I
cool.
love that idea.
Maybe we'll think of some games for them to do. Real quick to end this. So there's one bedroom open and then a couch in the casita. So out of you two, who's going to get the bedroom and who's getting the couch?
We'll do rock, paper, scissors. Ready?
All right.
All right.
You want to shoot, right?
Yeah, we'll do shoot.
All right. Rock,
Paper,
scissors, shoot.
Shoot. All right, we both picked scissors. All right,
Yeah.
one
All
more
right,
time.
Here we go. Rock,
Paper,
scissors, shoot.
Oh,
Yeah!
Mike wins. There he
Let's
goes.
go.
All right, Mike gets. Mike.
But I
gets
get
the
to drive
better-
your car.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.